Hey guys, this is Brian with B&H Consulting and Construction here in beautiful Middle Tennessee. So I wanted to start off this week with just talking a little bit about property and buying property and some of the things to look at as you're looking to purchase your property to build your new home on. So there's a couple of different things to look at. When you're buying your property for a custom home, generally depending on where you're located at, a lot of times you won't have access to sewer, and sometimes even won't have access to city water, which is also one of the big things you need to look at when you're buying some property. So a lot of times in subdivisions stuff, all those things are provided for you, but if you're buying a couple of acres in the country, those things aren't included. So I wanted to kind of touch base on that idea when you're buying property. So if you're looking at buying a substantial amount of property, or even a half acre, acre or more, one of the things, the very first thing you need to do is look at your perking. Your perking is all about your septic and whether and being able to put a septic system in. There's all sorts of different kinds of septic systems, but they all add a price and a cost to your project. And so one of the very first things before you ever buy a piece of property, you really need to see what it's perked for. So here in Middle Tennessee, when they talk about perking, they're basically saying how many bedrooms you can add to this piece of property, how many bedrooms you can build in this house in order for your soil to be able to handle that. And so that's a kind of a big deal. So don't buy a piece of property, honestly, if you don't know what it's perked for, or you might get into a situation where it's costing you $40,000-$50,000 to be able to add a septic system for a 3-bedroom house. I've seen it done before. I've had a client in the past that actually bought a piece of property and they couldn't get it to perk, and they ended up doing what we call a drip system. And so a drip system it's a really cool system, but it's very expensive, and it adds a lot of money to the cost of your build. And so you really want to pay attention to that. You also want to pay attention to whether water is available. A lot of times you can get water by putting in a well, but there's also a lot of times you get that well done. You have to add treatments to the well water and different stuff. Here in Tennessee, there's a lot of times that sulfur's in the water, and so in order to remove the sulfur on a well, again, that's something that adds quite a bit of cost to your project. So these are things to look at when you're buying, property. And my suggestion is make sure your property is already perked, so you know how many bedrooms you can build on that piece of property. Make sure that water is available, and if not, you want to do a test or some kind of test to see how easily available, or at least in that neighborhood, how easily available water is. So that's my first piece of advice. That's the very first thing you need to look at when you're building a house by yourself. Again, this is Brian with B&H Consulting and Construction. I hope this has been helpful for you. I'm looking forward to talking to you as we go forward with these videos. Again, you can find us also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Our link is in the bio. And again, if you'd like to contact us, you can contact us through our website. That link is also in the bio. Other than that, we'll see you again soon. Have a great day.